The Count of Monte-Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. On the 24th of February, 1815, the lookout of the Notre-Dame de la Garde signalled in the three-masted the Pharaon. The pilot steered the Pharaon by the narrow entrance of the port of Marseilles. Beside him was a young man who watched every motion of the ship. The vague disquietude which prevailed amongst the spectators had so much affected one of the crowd that he did not await the arrival of the vessel in harbour, but jumping into a small skiff, desired to be pulled alongside. When the young man on board saw this individual approach, he left his station by the pilot and came to the side of the ship's bulwarks. The young man was a fine, tall, slim young fellow with black eyes and hair as dark as the raven's wing. "Ah, it is you, Dantès," cried the man in the skiff. "What's the matter? And why have you such an air of sadness aboard?" "A great misfortune, Monsieur Morrel," replied the young man. "A great misfortune, for me especially. Off Civitavecchia we lost our brave Captain Leclerc." "And the cargo?" inquired the owner eagerly. "Is all safe, Monsieur Morrel, but poor Captain Leclerc died of brain fever in dreadful agony." "And how did this misfortune occur?" "Alas, sir, in the most unexpected manner. After a long conversation with the harbour-master, Captain Leclerc left Naples, greatly disturbed in his mind. At the end of 24 hours he was attacked by a fever, and he died 3 days afterwards. Now, if you will come on board, Monsieur Morrel, here is your supercargo, Monsieur Danglars, who will furnish you with every particular. As for me, I must look after the anchoring and dress the ship in mourning." The owner climbed up the side of the ship, whilst the young man left the conversation to the individual whom he had announced. Danglars was a man of 25 or 26 years of age, of unprepossessing countenance, obsequious to his superiors, insolent to his inferiors. He was as much disliked by the crew as Edmond Dantès was beloved by them. "Well, Monsieur Morrel," said Danglars, "you have heard of the misfortune that has befallen us." Yes, poor Captain Leclerc, a first-rate seaman grown old between the sea and sky. A first-rate seaman grown old between sky and ocean. "But," replied the owner, "it seems to me that a sailor needs not to be so old as you say, Danglars, to understand his business, for our friend Edmond seems to understand it thoroughly." "Yes," said Danglars. "Yes, he is young, and youth is invariably self-confident. Scarcely was the captain's breath out of his body than he assumed the command without consulting anyone, and he caused us to lose a day and a half at the Isle of Elba instead of making for Marseilles direct." "As to taking command of the vessel," replied Morrel, "that was his duty as captain's mate. As to losing a day and a half off the Isle of Elba, he was wrong. Dantès," said the ship-owner, turning towards the young man, "come this way. I wish to inquire why you stopped at the Isle of Elba." Dantès came towards the owner. "I do not know, sir. It was to fulfill a last instruction of Captain Leclerc, who, when dying, gave me a packet for the Maréchal Bertrand." "Then did you see him, Edmond?" "Who?" "The Maréchal." "Yes." Morrel looked around him, and then, drawing Dantès on one side, he said suddenly, "And how is the Emperor?" "Very well, as far as I could judge from my eyes." "You saw him, then?" "He entered the Maréchal's apartment whilst I was there." "And you spoke to him?" "Why, it was he who spoke to me, sir," said Dantès with a smile. "And what did he say to you?" "Asked me questions about the ship, the time it left Marseilles, the course she had taken, and what was her cargo. I told him I was only mate, and that she belonged to the firm of Morrel and Son." Ah, he said, "I know them. The Morrels have been ship-owners from father to son, and there was a Morrel who served in the same regiment with me when I was in garrison at Valence." "Pardieu! And this is true!" cried the owner, greatly delighted. "You did very right, Dantès, to follow Captain Leclerc's instruction, and touch at the Isle of Elba, although, if it were known that you had conveyed a packet to the Maréchal and had conversed with the Emperor, it might bring you into trouble." "Well, how could that bring me into trouble, sir?" asked Dantès, "for I did not even know of what I was the bearer. But your pardon, here are the officers of health and the customs." As Dantès departed, Danglars approached again and said,
"Sample complete. Ready to continue?"